Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Crown Council live stream. I am Stuart Anderson. This is our weekly broadcast that goes out to all of our members, all of our team members, where we try to connect with our community and share some of the best stories that are taking place in Crown Council with our teams, with our doctors, and with our resource partners. All right, we're grateful to have you joining us today. And our first guest is our resource partner, Forward Science. Let's connect with them. All right, welcome to the Crown Council's live broadcast. Stuart Anderson here. Hey, Ellen Myers.
Hi, how are you, Stu?
Very good. Ellen's joining us from Forward Science, who have actually been a Crown Council resource partner for a long time. Forward Science has some great history with the Crown Council, specifically their cancer screening product, which we brought on years ago, which has been fun to share with Crown Council over the years. Ellen and I have been talking over the last week, trying to prepare what great stuff that she can share that some of the most successful practices are doing with oral screening and other stuff that she's going to kind of introduce to the Crown Council products that Forward Science uses. Ellen, maybe you could start off by saying where you are. What do you do for Forward Science?
Yeah. So I'm based in Houston, Texas, which is where our headquarters is.
Okay.
I am the director of training and education at Forward Science, but I'm also a registered dental hygienist. So I practiced
Nice.
clinically. Yeah. I practiced clinically for almost 11 years before joining the Forward Science team almost 5 years ago now. So I, definitely can understand firsthand, the office setting, the ins and outs of an office. In also in conjunction with obviously, my passion for patient care that really aligns with Forward Science's vision.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when Forward Science became a resource partner, the idea was the Crown Council doctors are committed to offering full patient care. We're not just here treating teeth. And so my dental professional uses Oral Science's, what you call the flagship product when screening for oral cancer. But I remember that this kind of movement in Crown Council where this is such a great idea. If we're not going to be just treating teeth, we're going to be treating a patient and their full health. Not just, hey, teeth look good, but let's actually see you twice a year and take care of things that make you a healthier human. What a great thing to put at the forefront of every dental visit. So maybe you could start. I know we talked about you had 3 suggestions that all dental practices, the best dental practices that you see are doing. Do you want to just start with number 1 or wherever you want to begin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So obviously the number one thing that I see, and it's still a huge miss in our industry, is doing enhanced oral cancer screenings. So, traditionally we're still being taught that the gold standard is a conventional oral cancer screening. So just a visual and tactile exam, which is, the standard of care, and we have to be doing that. But, when you think about kind of the landscape of the dental industry, there are so many technologies that are available to us now that, when a lot of us went to school, weren't available. And taking advantage of those is really what, elevates your practice, your care, what you're able to offer to your patients. So when we look at like the statistics of oral cancer really continues to be on the rise because of 3 things. Number 1, there's new risk factors. So with the increase in the human papillomavirus, the prevalence of sexual promiscuity, that has caused a 225% increase in oral cancer diagnosis. So it's no longer your smokers, your drinkers, your patients that are over 40 that are at risk. It's happening younger and younger. 15-year-old males is a huge population that we're seeing oral cancer in. So we've got to change the way that we're looking for oral cancer. So that's one thing is, knowing and being aware of those risk factors and embracing that and knowing, what can we do? Number 2, that continues to cause it to be on the rise is late stage diagnosis. So we're not finding it soon enough. And that's because we're still just looking with our eyes. So again, when I said we've now got technologies that are available to us that maybe didn't used to, if you think about like breast cancer, for example, what has changed over the years of public awareness, education, the technologies that they're using to do mammograms and to screen for breast cancer allows them to find it earlier and then give a better prognosis. And it's no different with oral cancer. We have fluorescence technology that's available to us now. That's something that you can incorporate in addition to your conventional exam that allows you to see tissue abnormalities earlier. I think there's a big misconception of what fluorescence technology is and what its clinical utility is. And it's not a diagnostic tool. It's not going to say, yes, there is oral cancer, but it's going to act as a tissue highlighter, highlighting those abnormalities earlier. So then maybe something that we didn't see with the naked eye can be seen, get, a further than, follow-up, sending them to someone to get more information and find out what that is and what's going on. And that's really the best thing for the patient. So the third thing is kind of what I just said in that's coupled with the late diagnosis is that we're using antiquated technology. And that is, if you want to call our eyes technology, that's all we're using. When we've got things that are available to us that can really make us better, and to provide a more thorough exam, to go back to your point of, overall health and wellness for our patients.
Yeah, very good. And
the other thing, with that, sorry to cut you off, but it's an opportunity for an additional revenue stream. So, I don't know that a lot of offices realize this, but when you're doing your conventional oral cancer screening, yes, it's the standard of care. We have to do it, but it gets lumped in with like your comprehensive or your periodic exam. You can't bill separately for that. Whereas if you incorporate an enhanced technology, there's a separate billable CDT code for it. It's D0431. And that is something that's huge, especially right now with, inflation's at an all-time high, costs of hygienists, the salary costs have just, gone exponentially high in the last few years. And it's more and more difficult, especially for private practice offices, to, come out on top with that, right? So, by having something that can help be an additional revenue stream, that can help cover that cost of the increasing hygiene salaries, or help meet office production goals that aren't currently being met that you need to be profitable.
Yeah. If it's okay with you, I would love to navigate to Forward Science's website. So here's what we're looking at. I would love to just show the product of the oral cancer. Could you just give a quick, if you were in an elevator with somebody and had to explain what this is, could you do it real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a handheld device. It's essentially the size of a flashlight. And it's paired with, there's a filter on the end of the device where the light source comes out, and it's paired with the glasses that you wear. So it's an optical pairing that essentially, when you shine this bright blue light on the tissue, the glasses paired with the filter on the end of the device filter out so that all you see is either healthy tissue that is a bright apple whitish green color, or if there's something abnormal, it appears dark. So, all you're looking for essentially is areas that are dark. Those are areas of concern. We train all of our offices on a protocol of incorporating this technology. You screen, you see something dark, you have the patient come back in 2 weeks, unless of course it's bloody ulcerated, like we're concerned that this shouldn't wait for 2 weeks. If they come back in 2 weeks and it's still there, then we need to take the next step. And that's getting a diagnosis, whether that's referring them to get a biopsy, or, just being seen by a specialist for further evaluation. So, it's really, really simple. It's, FDA cleared to be a 2-minute screening. I would argue that I could get around everywhere inside of the mouth in less than 2 minutes. And it's just a great thing, to just do like another check to make sure you didn't miss something when you were just looking with the naked eye.
What is the argument that offices use against, why wouldn't you do this? What do people say when they're like, hey, yeah, we don't do that? How can you? Yeah.
Great question. So the misconception that I was talking about is this idea of false positives. So many offices will be like, oh, well, a lot of times, it says that there's something dark, and so that means you have to bring the patient back in, and then it ends up being nothing. One, I would argue it's not a false positive because it's not diagnosis. So that really, it's not diagnostic. It's just a screening tool. So that, argument is kind of flat there. But even if you wanted to look at it like that of, okay, I see something dark, I bring them back in, and in 2 weeks it went away. So it was a burn, it was some sort of trauma. Well, I'd
Mm,
rather know that I don't have cancer than not know that I do. So
right.
it's really that proactive versus reactive mindset that we have to shift to.
Oh, very good. Nice. Okay. What else? Anything else?
Yeah. So the second thing that, every dental practice should be doing is having products in their office that they can recommend and send home with patients.
Okay.
So something that, I know I'm guilty of in my own, clinical practice is telling a patient, you know what, you should get this product, at Target or Walgreens or CVS or Walmart, wherever, and use this. And part of the battle there is, are they even going to go and get it? Much less than once they get it, use it. So if
Right.
I've got something already in office that I can send them home with, well, that's a big part of the battle there. But then on top of that, there's something, different that we should know. We have at Forward Science, we're really big at looking at, back to you saying, the whole picture. So something that's been coming up here recently is like, we've used chlorhexidine for years, for decades. And that has been the gold standard for, an antibacterial rinse. But now all this research has come out of, alcohol. Alcohol's counterproductive to healing. And most of the time we're sending patients home with like chlorhexidine because we've just done some sort of procedure. We've induced some sort of wound or trauma that we want to heal and we want to keep the bacteria away. But then you put, alcohol in the product, which yes, it, kills bacteria, but then it causes drying of the tissues. It's counterproductive to healing.
Mm,
So we've kind of, as an industry, recognized this, but then people don't know what their options are. So we have products that are available, what we call professional use. And what that means is they're only available to dental professionals. We don't sell them over the counter. So not only do you have these products that you can offer in office, but you're not at all in competition with anything that's available at the grocery store or, any of these other places. So they're exclusive to you. And there's a couple of other benefits of that. Number one is these are evidence-based proven products. All of our products are made in our FDA registered manufacturing facility, and they follow the FDA's monograph. Something I think as clinicians that we don't necessarily realize when we're recommending a product is, do we know if they really work? Like, yes, this, mouthwash says, it kills bacteria and it facilitates healing, but does it really do that? And in our research, when we were R&Ding some of these products, we found that most of the other products that were in the same category did not follow that FDA monograph.
mm,
And so again, as a professional, if I'm going to recommend a product to my patient, I'm going to send them home with something, I want to know that those products are going to do what I'm saying they're going to do, so that, it's not a waste of my patient's time. It's not a waste of my time. It's not a waste of money. So that's, one plus in like using products from a company that is an FDA registered manufacturing facility.
mm.
And then number two, and I guess part of that I should expand upon is we have two different rinses that do not contain alcohol, that are either post-procedural, and that's our Oxystone, which is a hydrogen peroxide based rinse that you just would send home with the patient to use for like 7 days after they had a procedure. So like think scaling and root planing, a full mouth debridement, something like that. And then we have Therastome, which is a CPC, or cetylpyridinium chloride is the active ingredient, daily rinse. So it's an anti-plaque, anti-gingivitis that really any patient can benefit from. Something I say it as, a clinician is, yes, I want all of my patients to use an electric toothbrush for 2 minutes, a full 2 minutes twice a day, and to floss their teeth. But we
Right.
know that not many of our patients actually do that. But the two top things that patients are concerned about is I want fresh breath and white teeth. So if I can, recommend something that is going to like freshen their breath, it's easy for them to use, but it's got a product in it that's going to help prevent plaque and gingivitis, then that's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, big time.
So, thinking, sustained clinical outcomes, and increased patient compliance is what we're thinking here.
Yeah. Cool. And they buy it from you. That's the
Yep.
killer. Yep. That's the
Yep.
key.
So they purchase them directly from us. And we do, of course, for our Crown Council members, have a discount that's available for them to benefit from whenever they order. But then, the last thing on that we often get, I guess, a kind of a pushback on is, well, what about sales tax? So something that I think also offices don't know is that there are certain categories of products that in most states, I won't say all, I would still, defer to your state's tax code, but in most states, they're exempt from sales tax at the point of buying and the point of sale, because they are medicaments dispensed by a professional for health benefits. So this does not apply to every category. I believe there are some, products that still are subject to sales tax. So it is knowing which ones. Ours specifically, the category of the products means that sales tax doesn't have to be collected when they're bought from us or when they're resold to the patient. So that is something that's, really important to know when you're looking at this. And before, you just discount like, no, I don't want to deal with sales tax, so I'm not going to incorporate products. Right. Again, there's a lot of advantage to, all the things that I just mentioned, on top of, again, a revenue stream opportunity for incorporating these. So I encourage, clinicians, like, really make sure that you know what the tax code is in your state before you write that off.
Very cool. Nice. Great suggestions. I'm like, I was on this website while you were talking. I was trying to buy it, but I can't buy it. I'm not a dental professional.
Professional. Yeah. So we do have it where you have to put in your NPI number or your license number, because we're trying to also, obviously, being that we're a company that was founded with an oral cancer screening technology, we understand the importance of a patient coming to a dental professional regularly. We want to protect that relationship. Smart. So we don't want patients, to just be able to buy these things and they're using a mouthwash, but they've got oral cancer, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
Want them to come in and see a dental professional, get a diagnosis, have a recommendation. And that's another reason that we make them available only for dental professionals.
Smart. Very good. All right. We've heard 2 suggestions. We got one more. You got time for one more? Okay.
I do.
Cool.
So then the third thing that I would say is critical for either one of these suggestions working, whether it's incorporating the products or, offering enhanced oral cancer screenings, is establishing office standards and protocols. So say your office decides that they want to offer enhanced oral cancer screenings. You have to make it the standard of care in your office that we're going to offer this to every new patient and every recall patient that comes into our practice. And a great way to start doing that, so it doesn't get forgotten at first, it takes time for not only establishing the habit as clinicians, but then also to condition our patients that this is our standard. This is what we do in our practice, is to use those explosion codes. Make sure that you're incorporating it on treatment plans. So when you've got a new patient coming in, it's just part of that new patient exam. You put that code on there. Yeah. Same thing for recall patients.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with the products. You would want to make sure that you incorporate it as part of your treatment plan. So I mentioned Oxystone being a great post-procedural product. Just like right now, maybe your office is using chlorhexidine and you include it as part of the treatment plan for your scaling and replanings. You would just replace it with this product on a treatment plan for a scaling replaning. So that patient's already expecting, there's going to be this cost for this mouthwash that I'm going to be sent home with, and it's part of my treatment. And then for, like, say, a perio maintenance patient, or even just a regular prophylaxis patient that, struggles with, they're not flossing. They always come in, their gums are a little bit inflamed. They've got some bleeding, and we're trying to keep them from, tipping over down that, having, periodontitis track. Incorporating Therastone as part of those treatment plans. So, on your, 1110 cleanings or your 4910s or perio maintenance, making sure that we're, incorporating the product that makes sense And that's just part of your standard of care and your standard protocols in your office. And
Smart.
that's where we see offices most successful.
Very smart. Ellen, I love that you are a resource to Crown Council offices. You've got so much knowledge and your experience is incredible. Are you available, if teams want to talk and work through any challenges that they have?
Yes, absolutely. We've also got a product specialist that is available to schedule a one-on-one with the office, with a doctor, tell more about our products, how to incorporate them, answer any questions. So we will definitely make sure that you all have access to that on our resource partner page. Everything that you'll
Okay.
need to know, more information is there, and how to get in touch with us.
Very cool. And I know that we've got some specific Crown Council links that are going to be available on your resource partner page, where if a Crown Council member uses those links, special offers or whatever you want to call it, treatment, better treatment for Crown Council members is available. So those will be on your resource partner page in the on crowncouncil.com. So very good. Ellen, great. Thank you for joining us. You were very smart. It's really fun to talk to you. And your phone number, when reaching out to Forward Science, I know that, we've got a general number. Should they ask for you, or what's the best way to get in touch? Email, phone number?
Yep.
Yeah.
My email's emyers@forwardscience.com, and it's just MY.
Okay.
And then they can also reach out. info@forwardscience.com is a great way to get plugged into whoever's the best person for what the specific question is. You can also call us at our office. It's 855-696-7254.
Okay. Very good. Grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Thanks, Ellen and Forward Science. Grateful to have you as part of the show, and obviously thankful to have you as a resource partner in the Crown Council. All right. Our next guest is Tanya Bailey in our Coaches Corner. Tanya is a TOPS practice advisor, and we love to have these coaches on. They are seeing and working with so many Crown Council doctors week after week, and we're grateful to have Tanya on to share some of the things that she's seen the very best practices are doing. All right, everybody, welcome to the Crown Council live stream. Welcome, Tanya Bailey. Hey, Tanya.
Hi, Stuart. So good to see you.
You too. If you don't know who Tanya is, TOPS practice advisor and coach, but you are not in a practice today. Tanya is getting ready to travel and working on some virtual training. And if you don't know about, shame on you for not, just kidding, that's rude. If you don't know what Tanya does, so all day, every day, she is traveling to dental practices and offering training and coaching and mentoring. And the beauty of having a coach is that they are looking at your practice from the outside. They're seeing things that you don't see because you're in the practice all the time. And not only that, but Tanya has so much experience looking at multiple practices, different practices about what's working, what's not working, maybe toxic things that you can't see as a dental professional or as a team member that she can come in and with her professional skills help you with. So that is why it's always fun to bring Tanya on, or any of our TOPS coaches on, is to help share some of the things that they are seeing the best dental practices doing across the country. Tanya, before we get started,
Yes.
what's happening in your life? Any good updates?
Well, gosh, I've been on a little tour across the country, going in practices as usual. And in spite of what you may be seeing on the news, the business of dentistry is thriving.
Cool.
I just had a great conversation with Crown Council Dr. Karen Williamson yesterday. And, sharing some successes and wins that her practice is having. And then I was in a practice last week, and also sharing in North Carolina, sharing just best months ever. And I love hearing that, because it's not uncommon for doctors to ask, what's going on with the economy and
right.
So I am here to assure everybody, the dental business is booming.
Very good. And it's fun to see. I mean, most dental practices, they see themselves and maybe a couple close friends. So for you to see across the nation, maybe the pulse of what's happening, very valuable. Thank you. Very good.
Welcome.
We talked for just a minute before we started recording. And for me, the biggest value that we can add to Crown Council doctors or anybody watching is, what does Tanya see that the best dental practices are doing. And specifically, maybe we could talk about meetings. How are they training? What kind of things they're doing when they get together? Is that a good place to start, Tanya? What do you want to share that the best practices are doing?
I love that. In fact, it's probably one of the most common questions we get when we're working with a practice is, how is this coaching going to work? Because we're really busy seeing patients.
Right.
And the first thing that our best practices know and do is understand that there is a time to work in the practice and there's a time to work on the practice. And so carving out planning time to work on the practice is hugely important. And so there's probably kind of three arenas that I see that my very best do consistently without fail. The first one, of course, is the morning opportunity meeting. So carving out 15 to 20 minutes a day to plan and strategize your day, kick off with a positive start, and make sure that you are prepared for what's coming down the pike. Without fail, our best practices that do that consistently, they just get better results because everybody knows what's happening.
What can I ask a quick question, Tanya? What is the biggest barrier for that not happening? What is the argument practices make where they're like, listen, we're not doing them. We're not doing those.
Well, there's this refrain that I might have heard, which is we don't have time. Which, if you've been under my tutelage with coaching, my question back to you is then on a scale of 1 to 10, how important are your outcomes? Because really, I don't have time really means it hasn't really gotten to this level of importance to dedicate time to. So certainly you have to see the value. So there's a perception of not having time. Sometimes, boy, I can't get my team members there on time now. How am I going to get them there, 20 minutes earlier? And then just building in that preparation time so it is productive, because nobody wants to come to an unproductive morning meeting.
Right. Got it. Very good. Good answer. Sorry to cut you off. You were right in the middle of it. Okay.
Well, I was going to share, there's probably two other what I would consider crucially important meetings. So having a regular interval of team meetings, and some of this is going to depend on the size of your practice, but a whole team meeting with an agenda, and then also departmental meetings. So especially if you start to be a little bit larger, you want to really facilitate departmental meetings, assisting, clinical, administrative, and hygiene. And those have to be facilitated and they have to have an agenda. So the best practice is carve out about an hour every single week to do that, because you create a rhythm of accountability and a rhythm of consistency. Now, some of our practices do that on a monthly basis, but they find they get some disconnect because a month is a long time to sustain momentum. And so you usually take 20 minutes just kind of figuring out where are we compared to where we were a month ago. So weekly meetings are huge. And then the next one, this would be a question for you to ponder. When is the last time you had a leadership meeting? So a leadership meeting would be, of course, an owner doctor, associate doctors, and then anybody on your team that's in a leadership role, whether that's official or not, but collaborating from a leadership standpoint, because one of the most important pieces of leadership is vision. And you can't create a vision when you're working in someone's mouth. So you've got to take time to have regular leadership meetings where you're really thinking multiple steps ahead. What does it look like in a month, in 6 months, in a year? And then what's our strategy to get there? And that's one of the things that I love about what we do at TOPS. That's what our coaching team is always helping all of our practices with, is not just what's happening today or tomorrow, which I do know those are the two most important days in a dental office, but what are we going to be working on next month, 6 months from now, and next year?
Nice.
And then lastly,
yes,
when was the last time, doctors, that you had a one-on-one meeting with your treatment coordinator or financial coordinator? So reviewing your statistics on case acceptance, reviewing your total dollars diagnosed and treatment planned, reviewing your percentage of patients that have accepted treatment, and then really collaborating together for the patients that didn't move forward with treatment. Did we miss on closing the treatment, or did we miss on closing financial arrangements? And so that one right there, that one's the secret sauce. My best practices that are consistently producing at comfortable levels with the lowest amounts of stress have regular meetings with their treatment coordinators where they're going through all of those things.
Very great. Great advice. I think that the most spoken thing by people who've been on our live stream and on the Mentor of the Month, where they say, me and Steve always ask, if you're going back to speak to young Dr. Stewart, what are you saying to him? Without a doubt, it's, I have great coaches and I'm part of a mastermind group. And so having the outside perspective that you offer, the things that you can share with the team. Tomorrow, if I enter dental school, I don't know how people do without like a coach, without somebody kind of guiding along and offering the outside perspective. So very good. Tanya, I know we have a lot of resources to get people started with morning opportunity meetings, and we've done webinars, full webinars on how to have a great morning opportunity meeting.
Right.
I'll share those with this recording. Is there any other advice that you would say, here's a great way to get started?
Yeah. Gosh, we have so many easy entry ways to get started. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that in about 5 weeks, Total Patient Service will be having our Leadership Academy in Dallas,
Nice.
Texas. And you mentioned the spirit of masterminding, the value of that. So that's essentially a live in-person mastermind with doctors. And then concurrently, we'll have a room full of dental assistants and
Nice.
assisting leaders where we're doing the same thing. And that's just a very easy way to come in and kind of see what that's about. And all of the coaches are there. The other thing that I love that we do is, as everybody has modified how they do things over the last few years, we have a great virtual coaching option. And so that's an easy way to take just a topic. Like if you wanted to say, gosh, I'd love to have a meeting with my treatment coordinator. I don't know where to begin. Or I'd love to have a regular monthly meeting. I don't know where to begin. We can set those up as virtual coaching options as well.
Nice. Very cool. Thank you.
Happy to do it.
Good luck traveling.
Thank you.
And hopefully I'll have you on next week or the next week or the next week, because it's always awesome to have you on.
I always love being on.
Okay. Thanks, Tanya. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Thank you, Tanya. We have one final guest today on our live stream, which is Dr. David Howard. Grateful for him and all that he does as a leader, not only at Roseman University here in Salt Lake City, but throughout the Crown Council, his leadership, especially on the email network and everything that he provides the membership. So hopefully you'll learn a bit from Dr. Howard, and we're thankful for the time that he spends with us here on the live stream. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Crown Council live stream. Stuart Anderson here with Dr. David Howard. Hello, sir.
How are you, Stuart?
I'm very
today.
Good to see you. You're in a very official capacity today. You want to tell everybody where you're working today?
So I'm at Roseman University teaching. I'm in the AEGD clinic teaching the residents advanced concepts in dentistry, advanced restorative, and it's a lot of fun working with these young dentists.
Very cool. Dr. Howard, all-star member of Crown Council. I met you for the first time in the Young Dentist program. So year after year, Dr. Howard would send the absolute best young dentists to the Young Dentist program. He'd recommend them, and then they'd join. And then we started coming to Roseman to do the instruction here in Salt Lake City. And that's where I met you for the first time, as we would be in the room together and receive kind of David's instruction together. But now I see you at David's aesthetics training and cosmetic training. We see each other the annual event. So it's really fun to be able to connect with you and learn from you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We've had a lot of rock stars, students that I've encouraged to join the Crown Council. They've been really good. And I'm a mentor for Dr. Hornbrook. So I'm at his functional aesthetics courses, mentoring dentists there also. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, good. Hey, well, maybe we can start with letting all the Crown Council world know a little bit about your history, where your dental journey started, and maybe how it started. Is that a good place to start?
Sure. That's
okay,
a great place.
Let's
to
do
start.
it.
Yeah. So, my father was he was a lab tech. He owned his own dental lab. And so I started working in the dental lab for my father at a very young age. doing model work and everything else. I think officially, when I really started doing serious stuff was when I was about 12.
Okay.
And then I had work release in high school every afternoon to go work in the lab and wax crowns and do stuff like that. And I ended up doing that all through undergrad. That's how I paid for my undergrad, was I was still working in that capacity. So it was probably 14 years before I finally went off to dental school. I went to the University of Iowa in Iowa City, Iowa. Felt like I got a great education there. And then I went straight into private practice from there. And I actually was an associate for 1 year and then bought the other dentist out. And so I've been in private practice since 1992 in Beaver, Utah.
Okay.
And a few years ago, I kind of, as my winding down, coast into retirement type plan, I sold the practice and came to work at the dental school to teach it at Roseman.
Okay.
And then during COVID, the dentist I sold the practice to vacated. He just left, decided he didn't want to reopen it. And I still owned the building. So had a lot of patients saying, hey, can you help me out here? So I ended up, now I'm kind of driving back and forth, burning a lot of rubber on the highway.
Wow.
Kind of doing both, a little bit of private practice and still teaching at Roseman.
Huh. I didn't know that. I didn't know you were back down working in Beaver. I go to Beaver once a year, drive down to Beaver, Utah once a year to ride the Crusher and the Tusher mountain bike or gravel race, I guess, whatever you want to call it down there. So that's fun. I didn't know you were down there. Very cool.
Fun race. I've ridden that race and it's
Yeah.
pretty grueling. It's pretty grueling.
It's
Yeah,
brutal.
that'll test you for sure.
Very cool. So besides your dad, any other reason why you chose this profession, or as you look back and you say to yourself, what really got me into this, the influences, the mentors that kind of led you here?
Yeah, it's interesting because I had some uncles that were dentists, and I have an older brother that was ahead of me in schooling, and so he went off to dental school. He's 6 years ahead of me in his schooling, and went off to dental school, and then I kind of tried to go away from it. I looked at some other things, medicine, veterinary, and tried to go away from it a little bit. I ended up graduating with a microbiology degree in medical technology with a minor in chemistry, and I was working at Utah Valley Regional Medical Center in Provo, thinking that I found my path in life.
Right.
And at that time, my brother was starting a practice. He was helping another dentist that had cancer, and that dentist passed away. And so he ended up with both practices. He's like, hey, I need help, go to dental school. And so that kind of brought me back to the dental path. And then there were some things that just fell into line. It was obviously that was the thing I was supposed to do. So I regrouped and went back to the dental profession and went to dental school. And since then, there's been a lot of other things that's really fell into place for me to be able to mentor and young dentists and help out in that capacity. It's been very rewarding.
Nice. When you look back on that experience, whether it's with young dentists or even with patients, your team, what has made what do you feel has made the biggest difference for those people that you've worked with? I guess if you're giving advice to a younger doctor or other dentists, what's the thing that you do that has made the biggest difference in your patient's life or your team members' life or these students' lives?
Probably the biggest thing I would say is just networking, community. The Crown Council, really joining the Crown Council, going to boot camp. That was back in the Walter Haley, Steve Anderson days,
right?
When I went to boot camp. So that was a minute ago. But that really changed. There seems to be, especially, I don't know, there seems to be like an isolation effect in dentistry. Maybe it's changing now with all the corporate and everything, but with solo practice, you kind of get stuck and you think you're the only one in the world with these challenges and situations and what to do. And so that community, you know, joining dental groups, mastermind, being part of a mastermind group, being part of the, like I said, the Crown Council, where, you know, you have an issue, a question, whatever, you can launch a question across the internet and get multiple responses immediately. And you know, you find out you're not alone. You don't have to face things. There's other people that have had similar experiences. They can share their experiences, how they work through it. So I think that's probably, the networking is probably the biggest advice I would give a young dentist.
Nice.
Is, you know, set your goals and your aspirations, but don't do it alone. There's people that are more than willing to mentor you and help you develop and help you progress. And man, latch onto that and, you know, be a part of it, be a part of the dental community.
Man, great advice. I love that. If you look at some of the leaders in dentistry that you follow, so like David or others, what do you think makes a successful leader in dentistry? What, if you were going to be a great leader in your practice and you're tuning in to say, man, what advice would Dr. Howard give? Because you're with so many doctors. It's kind of an interesting part of your career, is being with so many, especially these young doctors. What do you think makes that a dentist a great leader?
I think the main thing that makes them a great leader is their standards and what they're willing to accept. You know, what they're willing to allow. It's difficult, you know, especially in practice. You're managing people a lot, but you're managing dentistry as well, your own dentistry, and what is acceptable to you. And you know, the thing I like about Dr. Hornbrook and some of the other people I follow, I mean, there's so many great dentists in the Crown Council. Jeff Gray's been, you know, a great leader. And I worked with Newton Fall is a Brazilian dentist that's exceptional with composite. He was a graduate student when I was in dental school, and I was invited to all the Brazilian parties, so kind of got to know a little bit about, you know, what he's like and what he does. And what I see in these leaders is, you know, basically what's acceptable, what are you going to allow, what are you going to hold to. And I think that's what makes the difference is, you know, do you make excuses? Do you allow this? Or do you say, no, this is my hard line. This is where I draw the line. And this is the direction we're going to go.
Really good advice. I've never heard that before when I've asked that question. So very cool. I love that. Can you share some things you've learned working at the university? Some stuff maybe that has presented itself about dentistry as you work with the university?
Yeah, it's been interesting when you get, you know, there's a lot of different ideas and different mindsets, and there's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak, different ways to do dentistry.
Nice.
And so it's an interesting environment in the educational world, because they, you know, especially the administration part, even though most of them are dentists, they look at things differently. I look at things clinically, and, you know, in a patient, what's acceptable to me, what would I do on my own mother or my own sister or brother? They look at things, you know, how can we get kids educated through the school system? So there's sometimes a little challenge to match those two, and I think that's where the negotiations happen. But it's been great to be able to associate with a lot of other dentists and, you know, see hands-on what clinically experience they've obtained, and be able to share what clinical experience I've obtained as well.
Yeah. Would you do it again? Do you enjoy working for the school?
I enjoy teaching and mentoring young dentists. I really love that part.
Good answer. That was really good.
I don't love politics. And there's, you know, it's just like Congress sometimes. There's so much politics in dentistry. I have been a representative so there's Consortium in Dental Education is CODE is what the acronym is for it. But it's association of all the dental educators. Basically, they have it in regions. So we were the Western region. So all the dental schools in the Western region. And we would meet once a year. We would meet, you know, sometimes in Zoom during the year or through email during the year. But every year we'd have, you know, a 2 or 3 day meeting where we would discuss changes we've made in dental education, what we're doing, you know, new. And I'll tell you, some of the politics can be pretty severe. When I came here, they were still spending half the curriculum on teaching amalgam. And I had a discussion with the dean, because in the clinic, the patients didn't want amalgam. They weren't demanding it. And so the dean decided to become an amalgam-free school back in 2015. And we dropped the amalgam education. When I announced that at the next year's code meeting, it was like piranhas going after, you know, a stump of beef. I mean, they just went off. I was told I was irresponsible and cheating students out of a proper education, all kinds of other, they just, for 45 minutes, they hammered me hard. And I finally just said, you know, I appreciate your passion for the amalgam education, but you're wasting time here because we've moved on. We're not going back. And I said, so all the attacks are just a waste of time of what we could be discussing in the future of dentistry. And so then they stopped. But like I said, the politics can be crazy in the dental education world.
Yeah. Interesting. I never would have thought of that, having not, I mean, you being in the system, it's a huge part of what you have to deal with. Crazy.
Yeah. So the fun part is mentoring young dentists. I love that. That's where the passion lies. That's what keeps me in it. The politics makes me rethink sometimes.
Not so much. One question we always ask Steve and I, whenever we have a guest on is, you know, looking back on your career, whether it's, and maybe there's multiple answers to this question, but if you would look back on your own personal career, how you ran your practice, or and you were to be face to face with a young Dr. Howard, what advice would you give yourself about maybe redoing it, or things that you've learned now that you do different?
That's a great question, and most of it, I would say, I would probably do the same. But there are a couple of things. One, first and foremost, get some business education. You know, when I started private practice, it was like drinking from a fire hose. You know, you have to manage a business. I mean, I thought I could do dentistry, yeah, but then there's this whole other business aspect, and it's eating you alive, and you're like trying to figure it out and what you have to do. That's one thing. The other thing is, I think I would definitely work on less approval addiction. You know, for a few years in my early career, that really hindered things and kept me from just saying, look, here's what's acceptable, here's the standard, here's what we're going to do. And I think it kept me from being a better leader, because I was worrying about, you know, how people were going to feel or react to it. So I think, you know, if I could have taken boot camp my first year out of dental school, or TOPS or something like that, and learned some verbal skills and learned, you know, I had a friend at that time back in my early career that was actually a licensed clinical social worker. He was a therapist. And I think that really saved my life as well, because I got through that approval addiction before boot camp a little bit by working with him, not in official therapy sessions. We would just, you know, we're out fishing or we're out hunting or whatever. And I was getting, because I would say, well, this is what's happening at the office. And he's like, what? And so he would give me some therapy. There were some times when I would just have to say, you know what, I just want to fish today. Don't give me any advice. Today. But that helped as well. So whatever it takes, I would say get over the approval addiction and, you know, stick to your standards and just do things the right way that you know they're supposed to be done.
It's great advice. I love that. Yeah, very, it's tough though. It's tough for a young doctor to even recognize that that's going on. So,
Yeah, well, and that's so true because I didn't realize it. I was just in it, right? I was
Right.
living it. Now I can see it clearly. And so that's why I would tell the young dentist, man, go to TOPS, invest in yourself and in
Mhm.
your education. I was investing in my clinical education, going to clinical CE, but these other like TOPS and boot camp, those types of things are very valuable CE, extremely valuable.
We did not pay Dr. Howard for this promotion. This was not it's scripted in any way.
Sorry if that sounds like a promotion.
It did
There
not.
are many coaches and everything else. Dee Reed and Mark Montgomery have a great one with their system. So there's multiple out there. I didn't mean to advertise.
I was just
for
kidding.
one,
No, it was
but,
great.
but yeah, invest in something like that because it's worth it.
Very cool. Very good. Well, Dr. Howard, that concludes my questions for you. Unless you have anything else that you want to share, any thoughts you've got, or anything that you want to share with the rest of Crown Council about your career or what you've learned, or pearls you could share with everybody.
Yeah, I would just say, it's a great time to be a dentist. The changes that are occurring are exciting, with digital and all the progress. I thought, when I first got out of dental school, we'd pretty much advanced to where we're at, but there's just constant changes and with sleep medicine going on, there's so much to know about what's going on with your patients that's a whole new avenue of education that I've been chasing the last 5 or 6 years. And so I've always had a plan and budgeted for education every year for CE. But then of course, after I went through boot camp, when you become a qualified member, you have to maintain certain standards, working with your lab, working with your, finance, somebody in finance that can help you plan, how you're going to retire at the end, and just making that whole plan for continuing education, for continuing to stay updated in dentistry and how your financial life is going to end up. I mean, that's what I would say is just make your plan and stick to it.
I love it. You're very wise. Grateful to have you on. Thankful for everything you shared.
Well, I appreciate you taking a few minutes, and it's been fun talking to you, Stuart.
Thanks, Dr. Howard. Have a great one.
Okay, you too. Talk to you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.